Former President Bill Clinton is in New York today testifying before lawmakers in a closed-door deposition. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton testified just yesterday. Now, this is all related to the House Oversight Committee's investigation into late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Yesterday, Ms. Clinton deferred a lot of questions to her husband today. There were at least a dozen times when she said, "You'll have to ask my husband that. I can't answer that." So we already had a big portfolio of questions for him, and that increased yesterday. So we look forward to that. Well, I think everyone's seen there are a lot of photos that have been released by the Department of Justice as well as the Epstein estate. There are a lot of email correspondence that included President Clinton. We know President Clinton had, and Secretary Clinton confirmed this yesterday, Jeffrey Epstein was in the White House 17 times while Bill Clinton was president. We know that Bill Clinton flew on Jeffrey Epstein's plane at least 27 times. So those are questions that we're going to ask.
And here's the Oversight Committee's top Democrat who says they want to hear from anyone with information, regardless of party.
What we're interested in today is a serious deposition. We have real questions that deserve serious answers from former President Clinton. And we have said from day one that Democrats want to talk to anyone, whether they are a Republican or a Democrat, no matter how powerful they are, whatever position that they've been in. If anyone has information about Jeffrey Epstein and certainly the horror that he inflicted on so many women and children, we want to hear from them.
CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian is joining us right now live in New York. And Nicole, what can you tell us about what's happened so far?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think we should start with former President Bill Clinton's opening statement, which was just released and, was delivered to the committee here in Chappaqua. Interestingly, the president started by welcoming lawmakers to Chappaqua, and he also said that he is doing this because he loves this country. He also felt the need to set the record straight. And so I want to read from part of his statement. He starts off by saying, though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication of what was truly going on, I am here to offer what little I know so that it might prevent anything like this from ever happening again. He later goes on to say, you'll often hear me say that I don't recall. That might be unsatisfying, but I'm not going to say something I'm not sure of. This was all a long time ago, and I'm bound by my oath not to speculate or guess. So in addition to that, the former president also critical of the committee for bringing in his wife, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, yesterday. On that front, he said at the outset, before we start, I have to get personal. You made Hillary come in. She had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his properties. Whether you subpoenaed 10 people or 10,000, including her, was simply not right. So those just a couple of excerpts from the former president's testimony before the House Oversight Committee, now underway. Mugo.
And Nicole, just yesterday, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, she said it's unfortunate that this deposition is not public. So is there any talks of a public hearing in maybe the near future?
No, and I asked the secretary just that yesterday when she addressed the cameras right behind me, because at the end of the day, that was what both she and her husband have been calling for, that these depositions be done publicly, that this be done in a public setting, that there is a public hearing. And I did ask her specifically if she still wants to testify publicly, even though she gave this deposition behind closed doors yesterday. She flatly said, I'm not going to do this again. So that is a definitive no on her part. You know, Chairman Comer, however, defended the way that this situation has been handled, arguing that it has taken some 7 months to get the Clintons before this committee. You know, there was a lot of back and forth with their legal team. They were supposed to appear for depositions last fall. They were subpoenaed last summer. I would point out back in August, they were given a number of dates where they could appear before the panel on Capitol Hill. Ultimately, this all came to a head last month when they were asked to appear for a deposition in January. They did not show. They sent a very strongly worded letter to the committee saying that they felt that this was being done to politically embarrass them and that the request from the committee wasn't legally valid. Ultimately, the committee ended up voting to hold them in contempt of Congress, and literally, as that measure was about to go to the House floor for a vote, is when this agreement was reached with Clinton's legal team to do these depositions here this week. So that is how this all came to pass. And even still, the Clintons wanted this to be public. But again, Chairman Comer saying that, look, we've got to get these depositions done first. That is how we have handled other witnesses. Then we will consider a public hearing. But again, Secretary Clinton last night appeared to close the door on that when I asked her.
Okay, Nicole Killian in New York for us today. Thank you. And now let's bring in CBS News legal reporter Katrina Kaufman. Katrina, as we said, Hillary Clinton, she testified just yesterday. It's her husband's turn today. So what kind of precedent does this set?
Well, what House Democrats are hoping is that this will set a precedent that will ultimately force President Donald Trump to testify. They say that ultimately they feel the wrong president is being deposed here. And it is significant to note that former President Bill Clinton is the first former or sitting president to testify before Congress in over 40 years. He's the first to be forced to compel with a subpoena. In the past, President Trump actually refused to comply with a subpoena when Congress was investigating the January 6th riot at the Capitol. So this could set a very important precedent. Also with the fact that Hillary Clinton was brought in here. As Nicole was saying, Hillary has said that she had no knowledge of anything that Epstein did. There wasn't really evidence of that in the files even. So this could also potentially be used as a precedent to bring in Melania Trump for questioning as well. We're also learning that Representative Nancy Mace has said that they plan to ask Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick to come before Congress. We know that he visited Epstein's Island. There's absolutely Democratic support for that as well. So it looks like it could get enough votes. So that could be a preview of what's to come. And just to add one other thing to what you were talking about with Nicole and President Clinton's opening statement, another thing that struck me from it is he said that he's someone who grew up in a home where there was domestic abuse. And what he wrote was that if he had known about Jeffrey Epstein's actions, he said, not only would I not have flown on his plane, if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself.
Okay, Katrina Kaufman, thank you so much for your reporting.